finding there for you.
Yes.
Oh, I'll have a chat. Go there. You're just waiting for somebody, sir?
She said she will open. Shall I go in?
Who is open? Oh,
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were waiting for somebody.
Sorry, Dale. I was just, I have all your information here. This is the stuff. Remember you talked about dropping some stuff off? Okay, so it's a big detachment. So I didn't know what stuff you were referring to, but actually, when I did talk to the message I left for the sergeant,
Yes.
To get back to you yesterday,
Yes.
he left it on my desk. So now I know what information at least. But I'm going to give that back to you because I've made a copy of that for the files. Okay.
Who is the name? What is the name of the female?
Yeah, and
officer?
I got that here for you. That's another reason why I had to do some fact finding just to find out. So, okay, that was Constable Melissa Sakella.
Yes.
This is for the uttering threats file.
Yes.
Right? Okay. All right. So we're on the same page, and that's her badge number right there, 65408. You had mentioned that you had contacted the CRCC, but I want to make sure that you have the right information. That's the phone number.
I would.
Okay. And
yes.
that's the web address. Now you can make a complaint if you have already, by the sounds of it. If you haven't, you can make a complaint by one of those.
I would
two
also
avenues
like to have an email address. As an official representative of DSR Caris Consulting, I would like to communicate via email with respect to the handling of the property.
Okay, so what property are you speaking of, though?
There's property that belongs to DSR Caris Consulting that a consent was given for it to be entered into this file. DSR Caris Consulting has a right to understand what is being done with this property.
Though? Like what property?
It's listed inside of that file.
Okay, give me an idea of what the property is.
There is
I don't
a
see any
cease and
physical...
desist property, and the cease and
it's a piece
desist
of paper,
defamation.
which I made a copy.
And there's
scanned
also a direct request letter.
Okay,
Which is the intellectual property of DSR Caris Consulting, regardless of whether it's being copied or not. It has a right to know what is being done with its property.
Okay, so the information that you provided to me, I've scanned to the file. It's just paper documents.
Yes.
So I'm telling you, that's what I've done. I've just scanned them to the electronic
and
file.
I want to be apprised of what is being done, and I would like to have an email address to communicate with the officer with respect to this.
That investigation is concluded. It's concluded. Like that.
How is the investigation concluded without going through all of this information? Because all of this information pertains to the investigation.
Okay, so in that investigation, you were just it was a non-custodial statement that was taken from you. No charges were laid, and the investigation was concluded.
There was information that was not supplied during that investigation that was pertinent to that investigation, which needs to be looked at.
Okay, what information can I at least pass on to the investigator?
They need to look through this entire document, all of it.
A
lot of this is preceding that investigation that they made. So they need to look at all the background information before they came and made this.
But it sounds to me, and again, I'm not the supervisor, but just from my review of that file, it looks like there was multiple either witnesses or complainants or something to the alleged uttering threats. And again, it's just an allegation.
There was
no charge laid.
With the allegation, this is predicated on a lie, and this information shows that they lied before they came to the RCMP and made the RCMP complicit in their lie by attempting to use the RCMP to continue their harassment of the representative of DSR Caris Consulting Incorporated.
So I hear what you're saying. We have concluded that investigation. There's no charge coming.
Regardless of whether or not the information was concluded or not, all information pertaining to that investigation must be reviewed and examined. Because if there's any misconduct on the part of the complainant, then they must be duly prosecuted by law.
Okay, so the information that you provided pertains to which investigation?
To the uttering threats investigation, which is the one that carried the criminal charge.
All right. So about all I can do right now for you, because I'm not the supervising officer of that member, is I can assign a task for them to make sure that they do a review of this information. I've already scanned this.
Where is
I've scanned this.
The email address? I'm requesting an email address as an official representative of DSR Caris Consulting to inquire about the property containing in this paperwork.
I'm not going to provide an email address for the investigating officer. If that officer chooses to do so, that's fine. But I'm not going to be the one to provide that. We're more than comfortable. Like I'm talking to you firsthand.
I'm asking about for transparency purposes.
Okay,
So why is there no transparency purposes for communication between DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated and the officer that is doing the investigation on how its property is being used in this investigation?
So what I'm saying is everything that you've provided here, which is just a copy, it was just a copy, emails and everything like that, correspondences that you have, I have scanned into the operational file, and I will put a task, okay, I assure you, I will task that investigator, and I will let her supervisor know that there's a new task on the file to ensure that they have done a review of this. But I just want to let you know, I think it was made clear that that file was concluded. So you're not charged with anything. You're not. You're not under investigation.
That is not. This is not the matter at hand. The matter at hand is that an investigation was conducted without adequate information. They came and brought forth the complaint without giving all of the background information in doing so. In doing so, it's under false pretenses that they came forward to the RCMP.
Okay.
Now I'm asking again, as a representative of DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated, for an email address in which to address the investigating officer on how its property is being used by the RCMP.
Okay, but what I'm saying, I'm conveying that to you. I've taken the information you've provided, which includes the cease and desist, and they have been scanned electronically to the file. There's no physical copy. I've given you all the copies.
It doesn't matter whether or not it's a physical copy, it's intellectual property. Whether you copied it or not, you still have to have the permission of DSR Cares Consulting in order to do so or transmit it. Therefore,
you provided the information to us,
yes,
Mr. Richardson.
Yes, and now I'm
so
asking
by providing the information, you've enabled us to at least copy it to the electronic file.
And now I'm asking for an email address for direct and official communication on the handling of that information by the officer, and they can conduct that conversation between DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated and the officer at hand.
So what I will do is, I understand what you're saying, and I will have that investigator at least give you a call. If they choose to provide you with the email address for some kind of record purposes, I will convey that to her.
I am going to ask now and say, based on the conversations that I've had with the representatives from the RCMP, they've been evasive, they've not been direct, they've not been straightforward with the representative of DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated. And for this purpose, for the purpose of clarity and transparency, DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated is asking for email communication with the officer for transparency, and I would like that
You're asking
email
for that, and I will
right now.
And I will convey that to the investigator.
I would like the email so that I can communicate as agent of DSR Cares Consulting the wishes directly to the officer involved. For the sake of transparency, which there has not been transparency previously with the agent of DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated.
Okay. So I've listened to what you've had to say. I provided you back the information that you provided us. I have scanned every document that you have on the operational file. I will create a task for that investigator. I'll follow up with that investigator and or the supervisor, and I will convey your message that you would like that individual's email address. I won't be providing that, but if they so choose to do so, they can. Otherwise,
for this,
we're communicating face to face here, Dale. Like I'm trying to be as,
for the sake of transparency, which the representative of DSR Cares Consulting has not experienced transparency from the Battlefords Detachment of the RCMP. Therefore, it is in the best interests of DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated to have official communication via email for the sake of clarity and transparency with the Battlefords RCMP.
Okay, so if you had an issue with not having the email initially, I mean, you can make a complaint if you wish in regards to that, but the investigator will touch base with you personally. So if you're having personal communications...
I'm speaking in an unofficial capacity as an individual at this point in time. Now, when I had a conversation with the officer last night, he had told me that he refused to give me the email address for himself or for the RCMP officer in question. He did not even provide the name.
You would like communications for the purposes of the investigation. So I've given you the officer's name and badge number because that pertains to the investigation. The actual email address doesn't really pertain to the investigation. You wish to have communications with that investigator. I totally understand that. And she is going to be more than willing to do that. It's just I need to convey that to her. If she so chooses to give you her own email address, then I'll leave that up to her. But I'm telling you that I will convey that. But everything you've provided, I assure you I have put on the file. Okay, we don't have a physical copy of anything.
In an official capacity, I'll now speak as the representative of DSR Karas Consulting Incorporated. DSR Karas Consulting Incorporated is requesting email transmission and communication with respect to its property that is being handled by Melissa Salika with the Sakala, which registration number of 65408.
Okay.
Because of the Battlefords RCMP Detachment's inability to be transparent with its representative, Mr. Dale Richardson.
Okay. And I'll convey that to her, sir.
It must be done so in order that it will be showing that the Battlefords RCMP is going to be transparent with corporate interests.
Okay.
Because where there is a violation of the trust between corporations, federal corporations, and the RCMP, that creates a problem for every person who owns a corporation in Canada.
I'll convey that to her. Okay, so I can't assure you a date and time of when she'll get back to you, but I will convey the message that you were here, that we've discussed, and that you are requesting a call back. You can have that conversation with her in regards to her email address, but I have given you her name and her badge number.
I will also state that failure to provide the email address will constitute and will appear to DSR Karas Consulting Incorporated as a lack of transparency.
Okay, so Mr. Richardson, if that is your position and there's nothing to change that position, even if she does not so choose to provide her email address, then you're full well, you can make a public complaint if you wish, and that's why I provided you that information.
The point is that if there's no wrongdoing, and I'm speaking now in an unofficial capacity, if there's no wrongdoing, why is there any reason not to provide the email and to allow that communication between a corporation and its interests with the officer involved?
Because typically with the email addresses for the RCMP, we also don't want to get a bunch of spam email and stuff that's tagged to our RCMP email address.
Are you implying that DSR Karas Consulting would be engaging in spam activities with the RCMP?
I don't know what you would do with the email address.
Why would a corporation spam the RCMP and make itself liable by breaking the law?
I've experienced that many times in my service.
When DSR Karas Consulting is coming to the RCMP about potential misconduct, would it make sense for DSR Karas Consulting Incorporated to engage in any activity that would be law breaking? That would be foolish.
It's not. Spamming is not law breaking.
It still is. It is some form of misconduct, regardless.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying to you. Like, if you have an issue regarding an aspect of the original investigation, you're more than welcome to make a public complaint if you wish. I'm not going to provide you her email, but if she so chooses to do so, she can provide you with her email.
So
address.
what is going to be done with this?
I've given you back that material. I said that what I would do is open a task on that file because it is concluded already. You know that it's concluded. You were advised that the file was concluded.
Yes.
And you weren't charged.
Yes, but this information, it demonstrates that the party that came forth to press those charges or make that complaint were lying. They were lying, and they've been engaged in a lie for some time. And they finally came in, and in order to cover that lie, they came to the RCMP to make a complaint. Then they proceeded to go and then, from the Manitoba, Saskatchewan Conference of the Seventh-day Adventists, proceeded to have a no trespass order, thus violating the rights of Mr. Richardson. But they also used the RCMP as a means to do so.
Well, I can't speak to that, but I mean, if they didn't want you on their property, then I guess they advised you of that. I mean,
the reason why they didn't want Mr. Richardson on the property was because they did something that violated both the Not-for-Profit Act their church manual and is both
Okay. Well,
morally
that's an
wrong.
issue but that's an issue
But
between
they got the
church.
RCMP involved on that issue. That's where the problem lies.
Well, but
And this information shows that they came with the willful intent to keep Mr. Richardson off of their property.
so that information that you provided wasn't provided during the initial investigation. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
I came from a Bible study at a man's house who had just gotten out of prison, whom the pastor himself would not go and visit. And yes, I came straight after that Bible study here to speak to the officer. And in fact, I gave her a copy of a book called The Great Controversy that said that it would have...
But this information here, was that provided to Constable Sakala
when I came straight after a Bible study? No, I did not.
May 30th, I believe.
No, it was not. So I came to bring the information that I could get together to speak
right.
to
And
the issue at hand.
Just so I understand the time frame and the chain of kind of events here. You brought that last week, I believe Thursday-ish?
Something like that, yes.
Okay. All right. And Thursday was the 11th of June.
Yes.
Okay.
I understand that there's a lot going on for someone like myself,
No,
including...
I just wanted to get an idea of the
Yes.
time reference. So the original complaint was May 30th, and then you came with this information June the 11th?
last week sometime,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, and then that's why you didn't get a call back. So yeah, and then there was some confusion over the other.
But
two files
when I
with
asked
Dane.
directly, the two ladies at the front, I would also like their names because they refused to give me their names as well. I asked their names and they refused. The first girl went back and asked the lady in the back and they came back and said she's not going to give her name. And then they gave me the names of the people that I did not ask for. This was the woman that I asked for initially, and I spoke to her and said clearly about the uttering threats complaint, and they gave me the names of those two men and their badge numbers initially.
Yeah.
So I would like the names of those two women as well.
Okay. Well, the thing is, they would be under no obligation to provide you with their names. They're not part of the investigation. We as
Really?
officers, as officers are. That's why I provided you with Constable Sakala's name.
So when they came back and brought me the wrong officer's name, when I told them that it was a woman, and they brought me the names of two men, you're telling me that they have no culpability for bringing the right name to the person when I asked for something?
They may just like it took me a while to actually decipher through everything to figure out who it might have been, because there's a lot of officers here, Mr. Richardson. So you have to understand that, like they wouldn't have readily known that, and to be honest and fair to them, they don't have a lot of time to do all that back checking because they are busy at the front. Like the front counter is quite busy. It's not just the counter; it's the phones are ringing and everything too. So
you're telling me that they didn't know the difference between a woman and a man?
No, they would know the difference between a woman and a man.
Okay, so then...
But I'm saying that they would not be able to afford you the proper time to sit there and go and try to figure that out for you right then and there.
Yes, but...
If
they've given me the names of two men, but I asked for the names of a woman...
They may not have. They just didn't have. They wouldn't have had time to actually go through.
So you're telling me that they don't know they don't know who those people were?
Quite honestly, that's precisely it.
So okay, you're going to say that they don't know somebody that they may probably come by and...
No. They would know that there's female officers at the detachment. They may not know who was investigating that complaint, is what I'm saying.
Okay, how many officers do they have that work here?
There's over 100 officers that work in the building.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
that's all.
So that's what I'm saying. But like I said, I've given you back the information. I gave you Constable Sakala's name and badge number. I will send a task to her. I'll have a conversation with her, all right, and her supervisor to make sure everyone's in the loop for you, and at least expect a call back. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And we have all this information, so we don't need the information again. I made sure that I made a copy of everything for you.
But I still, as the representative of DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated, I'll officially speak now in that capacity. The DSR Cares Consulting Incorporated needs to be apprised of what is being done with its property, whether it was copied or distributed in any other means.
And I told you that it was put on the electronic file.
Yes,
That's like we would do with anything.
As the investigation is carried out, it needs to be apprised in the manner in which its information is being used. And that's where I will conclude this conversation.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.